Tertúlia.
Boa tarde aí para todos.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hoje é dia 28
Today is March 28, 2010, Sunday. The entry is the 1521, 5 pages, 47 ologies and 7 maxima. The topic is Megaphenomenology in Intrusionfreeness. The subfield is Intrusionfreeology. The phenology. The Megaphenomenology in Intrusionfreeness is the set of studies, ontologic, specific, systematic, technical, theoretical, and theorical knowledge or researches on the quality, condition, character, description, and classification of the transcendent or of great magnitude phenomena of the consciousness, which encompasses both parafacts and facts in the micro-universe context of the intrusion-free being, either man or woman. The limpidity of the de-intruded self-sanity, the comforts provided by the harmonization of holothoscenes, the holothocenization of intrusion-freeness, the peak of the cosmoethical evolutionary self-didacticism, the anti-conflictivity assimilated theorically. The refractory passes by and doesn't enter. The ideal middle age of petty-freeness, intrusion-freeness at 46 years old or 26 years old of the biological maturity plus 2 decades. The cosmoethical parasanitary encapsulatings. In characterology, there are 32 characteristics, conditions, able to express greater responsibility, being able to exist in the consciencial micro-universe of the intrusion-free, either male or female. Here we have the ophiexology, consecutive personality, intrusion-free being, and in the emphatic sentence we have the self-research of the specialized megaphenomenology of the intrusion-free micro-universe already is a timely evolutionary concern for the lucid intraphysical consciousness, men and women alike. Do you read or research, even theoretically, realities beyond your own capacity of experiencing them? Which ones? This question is the silliest one, but I would like to tell you that today we are giving this bonus for the Tertulians to talk about that, because I am going to give a course on June 16. It will be a Friday this year from 8 to 10, and then from 2 to 4 p.m. I will give 2 tertulias on this topic in July. So today it's just a rehearsal. It's just a starter for the Tertulians mainly to get acquainted with the subject. I think it's a beautiful gift for this beautiful Sunday. Now, we would like to share with all the ICCC that the launch of the book JK in the Bastidores da Construção da Brasília will be part of the celebrations of the 50th anniversary of Brasilia. It will be a historical event, and we would like to share all those who have a rapport with this subject to be present there. It will be on April 15 at 7 p.m. in Brasilia. Now, the contacts, they could call Brasilia 3224-6544. I will repeat the contacts in Foz. 8802-7777. In Brasilia, it is 61, the code 3224-6544. Alexandre Nonato, the author, will be there launching his book in this 50th anniversary of the construction of Brasilia,
Agora,
Brazil's capital.
Agradecer também, ressaltar o
I
trabalho
would also like,
do
Waldo,
Martins,
to stress the work
porque ele
of
tem feito,
Professor
uma
Alexandre
empresa de
Martins,
eventos,
because
faria
what
metade do que
he's
ele
been
fez.
doing
Ele fez um trabalho
wouldn't be able to be done by
ele é político,
any
ele tem todo mundo aí
event
do passado. Ele é o cara
agency.
mais político.
Well, yeah, he's one of the most,
Na
the
Terra.
biggest politicians from the
Quando ele
past we
deixa o
have
cabelo
here.
cair na testa,
He's
tem
very good, but when he leaves his hair
Cuidado com ele.
beyond his face, it's a danger. Just take care with him, all right?
Agora, gente, eu quero agradecer
Now,
aqui também
I
o
would
Tertúliano,
like folks to
que é o
thank
Rodrigo
this
Montenegro, que
Tertúlian,
mandou pra mim de
who's
Paris,
Rodrigo Montenegro, who sent me from
do Jean
Paris.
Denis Bredon. Esse aqui
L'Affaire.
é o original do
This
livro,
is the original
sabe, do
book
Dreyfus, sabe?
of the
Agora,
Dreyfus
esse aqui é
affair.
uma nouvelle edition
And
refundida.
this is
Quer
the
dizer,
Nouvelle
já
Edition
foi
Refondue,
ampliada,
and it
mas
has been
nós temos
enlarged,
em português,
enriched. We have this in
tem
Portuguese, it was
Parece que tem
translated
algumas
also.
fotos,
It seems it
algumas
has some
ilustrações que eles não
pictures,
colocaram
some
aqui.
illustrations that they
Mas agora
didn't
o
include
livro é muito bem feito.
on this book,
É
but
pela
it's
Fayard
very well
Julier,
written. It's
que
by
apresentou.
Lafayette
Agora, esse
Julier,
assunto,
and
ele é
this
tão popular
subject is
na França e
so
na Europa,
popular in France and
eles
in
não
Europe in
colocaram
general
Affaire,
that
l'affaire,
they didn't
Dreyfus.
write
É só
L'Affaire
l'affaire.
Dreyfus, just
Mas é um
L'Affaire.
caso.
It's just a case.
O caso,
L'Affaire,
todo mundo sabe que
it's
o caso é o Dreyfus.
the affair. They all know when we talk about affair. They all know that it's the Dreyfus affair in France, in particular, and in Europe in general. This is the original, and I am very glad to have received this. And
Negócio novo,
I'll take a look at this book,
foi revisado.
and it's been
Agora, eu quero falar para vocês que hoje
re-edited.
na programação do
And I would like to tell you that today we have a program to an event that started at 8. It is the first Uniscenes meeting, and I would like to tell you that leaving here, I will go there to participate at 3:30 p.m.
Antes de encerrar. De modo que
and I will
aqueles que quiserem
participate very
comparecer,
briefly there, and those who would like to participate, it's interesting. There are lots of things, there are several participants, there are a compilation of the results, the profiles they have been studying, if someone wants to study that. But where it will take place, it's... Where is it?
Hotel Rafaim.
Yes, it's in the Hotel Rafaim.
Se alguém quiser ver, ó, tá aqui.
If someone want to take a look at it, it's here. I will leave here at 3, right after finishing here, to head to the hotel and take a look at those great personalities who want to question me. It will be a storm of questions. Let's see what it will turn up to.
Agora, gente, eu quero falar para
But
vocês,
folks, now I would like to address
verbete de hoje,
this
tem muita
entry.
coisa sobre os perfis,
It has
mas
several
eu tenho muito mais
things
coisa
on
do que isso.
intrusionfreeness, but there are many more things. In the course, I would like to put more things. There are other entries that I haven't brought, and I have to the course to show the details. There's one of them, it's terrible. I even asked for someone's help. It's the inherent trio. What do you think it is? Inherent trio. What do you think it is? Tell me, what do you think it's all about? What do you think this stuff is? Inherent trio.
Ninguém quer arriscar falar nada.
Nobody would like to take the risk, right? Did you really have lunch, or what happened? You ate lots of pasta, that's it. Arlinda, did you eat lots of pasta? But, well, I will tell you what happens. It's your personality, the recalling you have of your consecutive personalities, and your extra personality as the extra identity. It could be totally homeostatic. It has nothing to do with the personalities that are very sick, impaired from, like those from psychiatry. The three faces of Eva, there's nothing to do with that. It's the other way around. I'm just giving the positive side. But you have to think about that. Because now, with the retrocognition, it is impossible to avoid, because the intrusion-freeness unleashes this process. With the intrusion-freeness condition, the person has to know about it. Well, I will give you one idea. If the person identifies his or her extra identity, the person can create more rapport, affinity with the assisted, because the extra identity is just like a multiple identity. Just one, but a multiple one. And the consecutive personality, it could be a series of them that the person recalls, but here I am considering just one of each, so the person will see. Can you understand the level of it in terms of affinity, of rapport, the possibility of the intrusion-free, how it is broadened? That's what I want to elaborate on. That's why I'll take a morning to explain one thing and the afternoon to explain the other. So I want to explain all these things in depth: the self-extra-identity, the consecutive personality, the self-eruption of the psychosoma, the multi-existential self-relay, and we also have the parapsychic Hippolyte, the psychophonic monologue, and something else which is very serious. I think I'm talking about that. The universal blood donation. Now, but think with me, how is it possible to exist all these things and people don't talk about that? It's interesting, isn't it? If we think about the universal blood donation, macrosoma, the Hippolyte, the intrusion-freeness, the extraphysical clinic, or OFX, pre-mother, gather all of them. That's what I have to explain and repeat to all of you till you eventually understand it. You may think that it's very utopic, it's very far away, it's beyond your cognition, it's distant. It's not like that, my eye. All of a sudden, you could extrapolate this condition. Something could show up. It's good for you to understand that the worst thing that could happen, what helpers have told me, is when they sponsor the extrapolationism in a person and the person doesn't take advantage of it. The person throws that away, so I don't want my team to throw that away. It would be a shame on me. I wouldn't like to have that. Do you think I am making it explicit, or I have to clarify that even more? Do you understand that? But see, everything is a process of energy, so that the person will understand what's going on with him or her. That's what life is all about.
Então, porque lendo, eu estava pensando nisso.
Professor Reading was thinking about that. It's so far away from my current consciential condition, but you said my eye, and well, then okay, you go straight to barosphere and stay there. But before doing that, you dig yourself this hole and hide yourself in it. Because when the person does that, Erica, pay attention, the person is doing this self-suggestion, self-hypnosis, and the person finishes with him or herself. So on the spot, and it's a problem. So that's why you're telling us, Professor, previously, so that the person will not throw it away when the time comes. Well, yeah, not only that, but also what happens is that they have to leave the person it's kind of a loss. It's the lossology, as I say. It's one of the worst conditions, because a loss like that resonates in a series of successive losses. And that's the domino effect, the cascade effect, all kinds of effects I talk about. So that's the parapathology. Does it make sense to you? Yes. But you have to think about that very optimistically, with good humor, with consciential openness. But see, I have to count on all of you. If I were in Spiritism, I would just waste my time talking about these things. But with you, I think that you are already aware of the mental somatic process, the clarification task. We're talking about these things with logics. But, you know, the process of the Eva's 3 phases, which is a problem of the multiple personalities, but in a pathological way. But why? Because there is intrusion in it. There is a possession in it sometimes. It's just personism, it's possession. What I am talking about here, this inherent, in it, trio has nothing to do with it, and it's positive. And I would like to elaborate on that in the course. Let's see if talking about that today, if it will flourish in other conditions, if it will give you more ideas. There are 4 months from now on. Let's see if a child will be born, even if it's a stillborn or an unborn child. At least let's see if something flourishes out of your mind. But Waldo, in technology, page 34, this last technique. But I would like the main personal techniques of the intrusion, self-de-intrusion. Well, the personal techniques of the intrusion is everything I've been talking about in the encyclopedia. There are lots of material on it. Yeah, Professor, but I would like you to highlight the 3 main ones. Well, okay. The most important one is the person to have good intention. And with this, it's all finished. So you won't be against the intruders. You are in favor of them. You are for them in order to improve their conditions. So it changes it all. Because when we talk about intruders, most of people are against them. So that's not the case. You have to embrace them in order to assist them. That's what intrusionfreeness is all about. So don't think that you will be free, you will get rid of the intruders as you evolve. The more you evolve, the more intruders you will have in your life to assist. Okay, Professor, concerning the Thosin, you have to have this assistential practice. Okay, that's where the vibrational state comes in, the voltaic arc comes in. I am talking about this mega euphoria. I've been talking about that lately. So there is a series of conditions: the coupling, energetic, parapsychic coupling, the encapsulation. I am talking about that, and I've been doing that. I've been talking about these things at a very high level in such a way that it finishes with everything we have talked about before, because it's not in the books. We have attained a level in which everything else is outdated. That's why I'm talking about these things very clearly. To clarify that to you and to see what flourishes, what will be born out of your minds. Okay, Professor, what were you talking about this inherent trio? Yes, this inherent is something that is implicit, is innate, comes from the within, from the innermost being. So these are the 3 most important things. So you didn't understand that, did you? So I will repeat. It's you, your consecutive personality, you as a consecutive personality, and you as an extra identity. I am broken, but I still am a guinea pig for you. I am myself, you know, me here, my ego, you know. I am Chico Xavier's son, who died in Catalonia. That's the extra personality. This is the most recent one. I can talk about the most ancient one. I am the ZZ people talk about from ancient China. But what happens? Yeah, that's the consecutive. Well, the consecutive personalities, you can have a bunch of them. But the person has to have at least one. I don't think that most people will have the last one. Sometimes it will be a remote, a faraway one. But after that, there's also the extra identity, which in my case is the Zephyr. This magazine has come out talking about Spiritism. I was going to bring it, but I've been working with it at home, and it's one of the best they have had on Spiritism. It's from that history collection. It's one of the most expensive ones. It's 15 reals, Brazilian currency, and it's talking about Zephyr as the helper of Chico Xavier, and it brings all the personalities of the Spiritism movement in Brazil. It's an authoritative study on the Spiritism, and they've carried it out to show all the conditions of the Spiritism. And I am also talking about that to you, but I am not putting all the cards on the table. I have more things. I am just giving you some details, just the good ones, the positive side, because, you know, I want to keep the positive side for me. I'm just drawing water for my meal. I am just giving an example, okay? But the concept of the extra identity is you as Zephyr. Yes. And if I didn't talk about these things, it would be difficult for you to understand. So I talk about that and I show myself. So I am performing this consciential striptease. It's difficult, but the people will understand my condition. So the extra identity example is just that one from the Zephyr, or do you have, or you have another one? Well, no. From the extra identity, that's the main one. It depends on the work you are performing. It depends on the assistance. That's what brings about this kind of identity. So this is the trio of the person himself. You are a trio, of course, that when the personalities improve, you could have several consecutive personalities, because it depends on your retrosomas. But what's important here is to research the three conditions, because you can live with all the three of them. I have no problems with them. But when the person knows about that, the person will give more value to everything he or she does, the personal cosmetics code, the existential program, the research that's being carried out, all the person's problems, the existential process, either the Penta or the extraphysical clinic, everything will reach a different level of expression of intelligence that's totally different from the previous one. In your case, you talk about this trio all the time. Yes, I take advantage of everything. Just to write about this entry, I have had to deal with it. Who has written about that before? No one. So it seems that it has transcended everything that's out there. People could say, no, Waldo is visionary, but at least I have new ideas. At least the person has to acknowledge that. But the person will say, okay, but Waldo is the king of imagistics, okay? He just thinks with his imagination and nothing else. He's the biggest fictionist ever. And I will tell them, well, look at this book and read this Cristo Espera por Ti, this book I wrote in psychography, and that researcher, Osmar, who wrote a book showing the original authoring of this book. And I was very young when I wrote that book, when I received that book psychographically. And I have had this infarction just a bit before.
Waldo, here in page 36, could we call these items a kind of dispertogram, intrusion-freegram, or not? Up to a certain point, okay. Intrusion-freegram, I have talked about this, but in this case we should use a lot of material to clarify. Too much more information due to the intrusion. The intrusion-freegram needs to settle down on de-intrusion, self-de-intrusion. Yeah, but that's the way. Here you're talking about the parameters, right? Yeah, I talk about evolutionologist, intrusion-free, and I tell you, I am not intrusion-free. I'm not completely intrusion-free. If I were, I wouldn't have some risings, some excoriations, because they show my reality. And I have been explaining this for all these years by now. Yeah, but there are some things here, there are accumulation from several lives, like the epaulette, the macrosoma. Yeah, and take a look at the subtleties of the universal blood donation. What I want you is to think about the energy that is canalized, is headed to the better condition. If you don't deteriorate the innate, the fine energies, if you keep it healthy, balanced, leveled with no pollution, your tendency is to potentialize everything is in an unimaginable convergence. That's what I want you to think about. This way, you will think more about this. When I ask you to participate here, encyclopedia, I'm not drawing water just for my meal, also for your minds, to improve your mental soma. Here I'm talking as extraphysical consciousness, okay? I'm putting the cards on the table. It's very important for you to do the entries. Not only redo it, remake it, review as many times as needed, because I will criticize, so you will improve your mental soma and paraphenomenology. Do you understand that, Malu? That's the way. So the problem is not only it's not just my business. 50-50. You see, Lindário, mezzo a mezzo. Everything is 50-50. You need to share, to split, to compartmentalize. Just a minute, John. In the Spiritist view, the body is activated in the reproduction moment. How about the abortion condition regarding the conscienciological paradigm? In this case, there is a problem to the praxeology. Could we allow abortion in these conditions? How can we understand anencephaly? And in this case, what do you talk about abortion? Look, everything needs consciousness to make vitality. Without it, everything stops on the way. For example, I throw energy in a book like this, it gets vitalized, but it doesn't have its own life. It's not a live being. So we need to talk and think about all these cases. But we need to analyze each one to see its consequences, cosmoethical consequences, I mean. This is why I tell you that I am against the condition of letting a child continue living without a brain. And I am in favor of several conditions regarding abortion and ortho-euthanasia. But we need to study each case due to its cosmetic consequences. About these 32 items, Waldo, you talk about the extrapolation in the semi-extraphysical consciousness level. Let me understand, what would you add to this list regarding megaphenomenology of semi-conscious? This extrapolation reaches a level more advanced thanks to the parapsychism, because the person is headed to the extraphysicality in some manifestations. And the semi-extraphysical consciousness is half here and half there, half dimension. For example, in semi-conscious, the person dominates, the person controls the extraphysical clinics for a long time. And intrusion-freeness also. So extrapolationism comes from evolutionologists to the Serenissimus condition. There is no semi-extraphysical consciousness extrapolationism anymore. What would you add, Professor, if you were talking about the megaphenomenology in extraphysical semi-consciousness? Here, there are several here. When I'm talking about this intrinsic trio, but I'll talk about it in the course, okay? This is already very hard to swallow. There are 32 items, a bunch of things. I started speaking, but see, Mega Cipriani. I brought some data these days about Mega Cipriani. What did I tell you about this? The megaphorization. It's in Mega Cipriani. And I used to talk about this between lines, but now we are trying to clean everything, to put the cards on the table. And it's the first time we are talking about this. Studying the entry 4 months before the course. So you can study, you can ask things, you can collect some data, and most of you must understand, start studying what is intrusion-free. If you want to improve, because there may be people who are feeling so well, so fine, and they are having their crème brûlée and eating pudding and all this stuff, and very good comfort zone. So we don't touch the person, like they say in Brazil. Broa de milho. It's a very good. Very good food. And you need some napkin not to get lost when you eat everything. Professor, you have commented you have excoriation, so that's why you don't consider yourself intrusion-free. You have explained about, but I didn't understand yet. Oh, he didn't understand. Do you think he is sincere? Do you think he's being true? So, the case is the following. Let me explain. If you let me alone, if you give me freedom to do whatever I want, I can be intrusion-free, completely intrusion-free. But the way I need to work, I'm not completely in this condition. For me to be intrusion-free, do you think I can receive some injury, like wounded, to being wounded? Do you think I would be able to receive these things from the intruders? No. What do you think, young lady? Did you understand? But when I do some things and let things happen, when I come clean and make the complete consciential openness, I may receive these injuries. It means I am not completely intrusion-free. But if you give me the opportunity, I can show you that I am able to be intrusion-free. But you are not completely free due to your free will. Up to a certain point, but not exactly. I'm like this due to the injunctions, to the contingents. Where is Carla? Yeah, due to self-contingence. But Carla is at Unicin, right? How do I call it? Self-contingency. In the group context, you are... Yeah, me and you and me. I can even write a song about it. A French song even. Shines à la vous. Did you understand that, Adélio? Is it logical? Okay, that's the situation. I am used to it. I know the subject. I cover all this subject matter, and I speak to you very clearly, because I thought about this, even out of this body. Out of this body, you know what I mean? Waldo, in page 36, the third item, self-conscienciality in retrocognition. Is this an attribute, a phenomenon? How does it work? This one of retrocognitive self-conscienciality is exactly what I was talking about, the intrinsic trio. But it can reach a level that depends only on the person. It can reach very far. The phenomenon expression of the manifestation can be broad, can be devastating, impressive, like a tsunami in matter of holothosenic process. But it depends only on the person. But I think that I wouldn't like to have this acute memory too much spread this way. I have had experience on this subject due to the problem of being in discoincidence with lucidity at the same time, what I call visual awakened discoincidence. Think about this. I used to catch other persons' processes all the time. Imagine myself catching it with the backstage. I couldn't stand it. That's why I think the Serenissimus may have safeguards, mnemonic safeguards, cortical, brain. I don't know. There must be something. It diminishes. It's like frozen. It's kept frozen. And maybe they don't give value. No. It's due to the eruption or friction. Let's say the boiling of all this. It's too much. Think about it. If I start thinking about all these things, I can catch one. But if I catch everything at the same time, this is what happens. You are in front of me. I look at you and analyze who is close to you. And I analyze the same thing about that other person. And all of a sudden, I see 10 lives from one, 5 lives from the other one. I'm not kidding. Evolutionologists can do this. So, how does it happen? From 5 people, you make 50, 500. Have you ever thought about that? You possibly have never analyzed anything like this. That's why you need to go through this phenomena, and I am preparing your mind to the next extrapolationism. I am your pre-extrapolationist. Do you understand? Tertullian was made for this. I have told you When we were down there in Holocycle, I've been talking about this. Do you think, Waldo, that being a bait without alteration or making an effort in this way is good? You have to make assistance. You can't admit you're not supposed to be disturbed with anything. Are you assistant or assisted? When the assistant becomes assisted, it's a shame. It's a shame. There is no qualifier. So in this process, if you want to help other people, help in accordance with facts and your capacity, your breath. Don't try to do more than you can do. We need to go up to our limits. That's why I tell you everything with logic. And if I tell you, oh, I don't have so much conflicts inside myself, I am telling the truth. If you want to think that I am like a ham actor, that's your problem, but I am true. With this level of parapsychism, discernment, do you think I would stay in spiritism forever? Don't you think I was there to help them? That's why many of them left. Those who understood came with me, but most of them couldn't handle. I had to prepare them, and I wanted to start with the permanent exposure. And when they saw how it would end, they cut me. But I never argued or fought with anyone. So you see, what I see is the following. You worth the level of your discernment, whomever you are. Doesn't matter if you're a woman, old, man, ugly, beautiful, ill, you are healthy, you worth your discernment. If you understand this, if you admit this, it's a great thing. As what I can see in our level of lucidity, we could associate this with the bait condition. Do you think it's an exercise to think about this as self-conscentiality? No, baits. Everybody here are already baits. There's no way out. You can't get rid of intrusion in our level, I mean, because we came here to make the intrusion. Everybody. Waldo, the last item here, universal blood donation. You were talking about the blood itself, the genetics? Yeah, it's very obvious. I'm talking about biology. Yeah. Just like that jab and compound fracture. Because the patients who are universal donator are very interesting to be dealt with. By the somatic view, the donation, blood, the epaulets, and maybe there are other subjects here in this list we should study. Microsoma is also related to this. The psychophonic monologue, because it deals with extraphysical processes, but the body itself is controlling also, because the helper is connected to this monologue. The pre-mother is also related to the body. Only in this we have 6 subject matters, and ectoplasmy also. Another question. What analysis can we do when we have the feeling of possessing strength beyond normal? This strength beyond normal is the Hawke effect. When I say strength, I'm not talking about physical power, but the pleasant sentiment of making me feel better than any difficulty and trying to help other people to be the same way. That's what I tell about the megaphorization. People tell me I am like a fool because I help other people and I don't let them put me down if there is any offense. And am I thinking the right way?
That's it. Sure.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Of course. Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, no doubt about it. That's right, that's it. All right, all this stuff. Everything is correct.
Acho que dessa vez não sobrou nada, né?
I think nothing was left out.
Tem ano e 4 meses de internet.
It's been a year and 4 months, and I've been feeling lately this dumbness in the sphenoid, and I would like you to clarify its role in the energetic process. Yes, okay. It thinks there is this irradiation from the sphenoid at the basis of the skull, and it's responsible also for the intra-skull sounds and noises, and in this case you would have to examine, to look into it, your face, because sometimes you have maybe even an allergenic predisposition, and this face dumbness, maybe it could also be just the first signs of paralysis that could come later on. You should rule out any possibility of this being a physical condition, but the best would be to submit it to a TC scan maybe. Yeah, that would be the ideal thing, because it's very specific what we're talking about here. I would like to know the reason why I am inserted in the middle of drugs, because at 18 I married, obliged by a Muslim father, to a husband that used drugs for over 20 years. I came into Conscienciology in 2003, the first courses in Foz do Iguaçu. I came 9 years, no husbands, and then when I married again, with this person I thought was a rescue from past lives, I found out that he was using heroin, and now I've just figured out that my son is also using pot. What could I do? Because my daughters too. Well, what I see here is that you are dealing with people from the baratron sphere, and you have a tendency to help all of them because you have affinity with them. So the first thing here is to cheer up and move on, because you're very lucid to that. You are amidst all of them and with no injuries. It's a top condition. It's very good, because you are a target, but you haven't been shot. So let's be optimistic about it and move ahead. Now, see, she's from 93. 93, she took the first courses, the first Conscienciology courses in Foz do Iguaçu, 1993, and she took part in them. And she was one of those people who used to buy material for me in Ciudad del Este, the Paraguayan city on the border here with Foz do Iguaçu, and helped me with these materials. Professor, letter D, D for debate. What's the level of self-awareness that the intraphysical consciousness should have of its para-duty as to become intrusion-free? Well, I think that in this case is to perform assistance and to be cosmoethic. Not to think bad of anyone else, of somebody else, and dedicate with self-lucidity entirely to this assistance process, to terminate with your ego and think in favor of others. I think that doing that will stand for your para-duty, because after all, you are on letter D. It could be D for deficiency. Well, there could be lots of things, but he elected D for duty, so you see. But, Professor, my question goes in the sense of the self-awareness. Well, the self-awareness will increase more and more. As you may have seen here, I've been talking about this. Your self-awareness will increase as you follow the orientation of the facts, because the facts are the parameter of your research.
Uma outra pergunta.
Another question, Professor.
Qual a relação existente entre aquela atitude evolutiva do devagar e sempre
between that evolutionary posture of the slowly but surely and that the posture of 20 years to go to become intrusion free? How could we go about? Well, that's the way. That's the way. That's what else can I talk about that? That's the way out. You have to insist on it. Repeat them. And it will amplify, increase. In assistance, the tendency is to amplify always, is to broaden. But the first ones, the person has to pay attention with and be very self-aware, because there is this extrapolation of the phenomena. And they promote an expansion, a strengthening. They get bigger, greater, and it could lead you to this higher, stronger level. And it improves the quality of your life. Professor, is still concerning self-awareness to achieve intrusion-freeness. Can I say that the self-awareness of the interactions is one of the main points to achieve intrusion-freeness? Yes, it's the interrelation, but starting from the anti-conflictivity process. Write it down. Anti-conflictivity. Analyze last year what were the conflicts you were involved with, the conflicts you had, and then you will analyze which were the ones triggered by myself, those that you cannot assign to an external cause, just yourself. These are the ones that you should prioritize in your analysis. But we are at the end of April. March. We are at the end of March, so the first quarter is over, and you have to analyze in this first quarter what were the conflicts you had and what were their bases. So you will be able to see what triggered, and you will have more self-awareness concerning what you are asking about this anti-conflictivity or conflictuosity, as people say. Well, but the point here is the conflict. Everybody has any kind of conflict. But the process is the percentage, the quality, the extension, the degree. Waldo, you're talking about conflicts, and I have the impression that, at least in my case, the anti-conflictivity is from there that it goes to the external conflictivity. It's much more this inner one than the external one. Well, yes, you have to see the central and the peripheric nervous system, but you can't have outbreaks. Think about the outbreaks in your lives. In your case, for example, a decade, 2 decades ago, you had these outbreaks, Italian-like outbreaks. Yes, because, Professor, the Italian outbreak, like those from Sicilia, it's very normal among that kind of people. Well, yes, it's cultural there. In Europe, there are more places like that. For example, the Spanish have something like that. The Portuguese, when they talk to each other in Lisbon, it seems that they are going to jump at one another's neck, but afterwards they are laughing and they're friends. Yeah, it's cultural, but we can't use that as a mechanism, because if I use that outside, I am screwed up. And I can't use that anywhere else, but yeah, the problem is to use that here. But now, well, yeah, she's afraid because she's just behind you, and she's afraid that you have one of those outbreaks, and she would be in the target line. But Professor, what happens is that among most people is that they have these inner conflicts. But yes, they will always have also the external conflicts, because external conflicts could affect them and bring about inner conflicts. And the thing is to look into it and very carefully in depth and analyze to root it out. Professor, the structure, the Tertulliarium's structure had already been defined for how much time before being constructed? Well, it had been already defined, but we didn't know for how long. We just thought about that in details when it was about to be built, because otherwise we would be evoking too many things. But this structure was already designed in the extra-physical dimension. Well, it's more a kind of an adequacy of what exists there. Extra-physically, the things are a bit different. Because Professor was taking a look at some notes from myself kind of 4 years ago. I found it very interesting because some of my drawings were very close to the Tertulliarium's current design. Was it close? Well, yes, because we have insights, but there has always been this process of arena to kill other people, just what exists outside. But what happens here is that we kill, but the bad ideas. It's more or less the same thing. It's a process of death. Well, in this case, Professor, they weren't killing, they were just debating ideas, yes. But now what happens is that meetings in arenas and agoras have always existed. Professor, about extrapolationism, what leads the consciousness to not realizing that it's having the extrapolation? Well, it's just because the person is a rookie, because the name already says it's an extrapolation. The person is not used to that. So the person may have that, but it goes unexpectedly. And the professor, to a certain extent, that the helpers will withdraw, yes, because the person is not resonating, the person is not echoing. And, well, in this case, the helpers withdraw and walk away. But talking about all these subjects, I think that people will be more aware. Professor, letter A, please. I would like you to elaborate on the items 11 and 31. Okay, personal detection of tangible apparitions. When you see these apparitions, for example, myself with Our Lady. Well, when I say Our Lady, it seems that it comes from Catholicism, but that's not the case. That madam that showed up in the New York subway, it was a apparition. And the 31, the reception of the farewell consciential projection. For example, when Monja shows up and says goodbye. But Professor, why did you write resomatics instead of the somatics? Well, because those who give farewell are resomating. That was Monja's case, and that's what I've seen most cases. Like a helper that will resonate. Emmanuel did the same thing when Chico Xavier decimated. Emmanuel came and said, okay, goodbye, I'm going to Italy. So he resomated that, and I didn't know anything because it had been a long time. I haven't seen him. Emmanuel is one of these friends from the past, from the Catholic Church. And I asked Baronesa to help too, because she's from the same group. It's life. We're falling people into their, making people fall into their places. We have to see the intervening factors, the intercurrences, so everything will be interwoven and everything will be
Letra D de novo.
arranged
D de dever aqui. De
into
novo,
place.
dever.
Professor, again, duty, D for duty, please. Or D for deficiency too,
Estou
right?
ainda deficiente
Well,
perante
I am
a
still
deficiência.
I have deficiencies before
possível afirmar
intrusionfreeness, but I would like to ask one thing. Is it possible to say that this
da
conflict
ela é
of the
proporcional
consciousness
ao
is
não querer assumir
equal
o
to
seu para dever?
the unwilling posture of taking on board the duty? Well, it's possible.
Então, o antagonismo
So the
que determinada
antagonism
consciência possui
of a
da
certain
sua própria
intraphysical
evolução ou do seu
consciousness
para-dever,
before
isso a impede
his or her para duty,
de evoluir,
it
ou de
hampers
crescer,
the consciousness, it hampers the evolution of such consciousness. Yes, of course, the consciousness will be stagnant and will walk backwards. And that's the reason why I've been studying all the items of those self-evaluation list. All these crucial topics, I am combing them with a thin-tooth comb, and lots of people could say that later on that I'm having this battle-thocenic process, but repeating it's part of didactics, but it will be more and more sophisticated with the course of time. Sometimes there will be entries with lots of repetition, because if we just bring new things, the person won't understand. So it's unavoidable. Waldo, when you were talking about this universal blood donation, you said that the energy will converges to the best. Could you elaborate on that? The tendency here, if we let the Serenissimus deal with it, for example, all of them will be a universal donator, but it would be very easy. Let's do just like they do in Law and Order. Let's take everybody from the population and see if they have this condition, if they're universal blood donators. But it doesn't work like that. They have gotten over that condition. They don't obey to such parameters. But for us, who are at the beginning, it's already a lot. But those who are positive, how could they go deep in that research? Well, the person has to see the details, the intercurrences. I have already talked about that here, but the case is the following. The person has this universal blood donation that is functional, that works. In this list here, what could the person examine as well? Does the person have ectoplasty? Is the first one there. Does the person have consecutive personalities? Have the person already examined such condition? Something else, the extra self-identity. The person has a good recognition what has happened. Now the eruption of the psychosoma, depending on the person's age, how is it all about, and also the multi-existential self-relay. Is the person starting now, or the person has already practiced the self-relay? So you will see that the most items here are related, and when we were studying this with Eduardo, we could see the relations. And also concerning the biological, the genetic conditions. Professor, I have already asked you here in Tertúlia, here with this evolutionary productivity a little bit better. Some of us have already have some outbreaks of intrusion-free, the little ones, and we have these in very unsteadily. And I have already asked you if what makes this condition being irregular, is it due to the self-intrusion or what? Well, the person has to expand the context with the person's past. When it happens, everything is gone. But what happens? Well, the basis is self-intrusion. But the problem is when the person, when there is this voice, a stronger voice that raises and it prevails. But Professor, when you say here in factology, the voluntarily withdrawing from fame, well, see my case. For example, let's be straightforward since we're coming clean here. Have you ever imagined how many condecorations and celebrations and things I could have been awarded? I have already turned down lots of things. When I started working with Chico, I told him, I said, first thing, I don't admit receiving any condecoration, anything. If we leave it up to you, you are already a myth. They will give you citizenship of any country you go to, but I can't. And I have turned it down. I was 24 back then, and I had already had some cases like that. See, several years before that, people wanted me to be a state deputy. They wanted to raise my age so that I could be a state deputy. So think with me. The situation is the following. I tell him, I will be with you, but while I am with you, I won't have any kind of condecoration. Do you accept that or not? Take it or leave it. But I think that he was expecting me to accept that process later on. I think he really thought I would, at the end, be more inside the Spiritism movement, that I would adhere to the process. And, you know, because of Chico's homosexuality, there is this predominance of this affective process that is rooted in his personality. So it created a kind of a difficulty. Even with all his intelligence, it created difficulties in terms of lucidity in approaching some subjects. For example, his fear of dying, it was an absurd. But Professor, talk about this paradox. You are at the front of the battle and you are in the center of attractions, but you know that I avoid lots of things here. For example, here in Foz, it has already happened. And what about abroad? But my argument nowadays is very good. They say, look, I'm 78 years old, so I have already refused lots of things abroad. I can't accept anything else anymore. So when I say that, they don't insist anymore. But it's one of the problems I usually have. And one of the other things is the massification. It's the first thing that we're going to have this bigger advertising. I am doing this because the transmitter also thought that there was a series of things that could help. It's not only your book, it's not only Brazil, it's not only Chico's birthday. It's a series of things in April. It's his centenarium, lots of things that are being brought up. There is Balzac's book, lots of humans, commemorations, lots of things in April. It's been a long time it doesn't happen. But Professor Waldo, I have a doubt. In your case, your experience of the intrusion amplified its magnitude is not a problem concerning calling the attention. Look, in my case, for example, in most cases, the more I aged, the more I wanted you to be in front, to appear, to show up more than me. But see, when I set up the Instituto Internacional de Projeciologia, the Projeciology Institute, the lawyers said, they gave me the advice of being in front to centralize the process, otherwise everything could fail. And I had to be there, more than I wanted, in fact. But the case is the following. The ideal would be, right now, for me to show up less and you to show up more. But what can I do? When I am here speaking online, there's no way out. Yeah, Professor, on the other hand, according to what you have said, if our magnitude amplifies, our assistance field enlarges, those from the past will come and try to hit you. Yes, I'm trying to do all that without egocentrism, to be able to work extra conscienciology and with the extra conscienciology process, because it's been lots of years. I don't answer emails, I don't answer the phone. I put other people to do that. And when I came to Foz, I've been here for 10 years, I said, I don't travel anymore, just in exceptions like health cases and so on. For example, the Jubilee, when I had to go there because of the dental school, the Jubilee of the dental school, they are doing one more here because I saw it. 55 years. The 55th anniversary of the graduation. But Professor, as your process enlarges, you will decorate all that. Okay, but that's what I am trying to do, and I am talking about that very clearly here. This voluntarily withdrawing. And what about the 4 invitations I had to go to Hollywood? I'm not kidding, I have witnesses. I have seen it. I didn't want to go there. I was already withdrawing, but some things I can't. In the international process, it was very difficult to do it. Professor, on the other hand, our paradox is to amplify the magnitude of assistance without creating this negative wave of intruders. Well, for most of us here, the work will, if not in this life, in the next one, our work will lead us to the public life. You can't run away of it. That's your case. There's no way out. So the problem of the public life is that we have to know how to live with it in a lucid, productive, and intelligent way in favor of others. That's what I've been trying to do. See, when I leave my bird grow, it in several cases is totally negative. It's against me in certain cases. Within my family, there were people who said, well, when you let it grow, you were a very handsome guy. When you let your bird grow, you became old, an old man, very ugly. And when Sonia came here, she's been with our processes for a long time, and she told me so. When I let it grow, how old I got, and so on. But see, the worst thing is the following. Nowadays, I use a hat. I use the hat. And, okay, and people will say, well, look, this man is just lots of vanity. Vanity is taking over him. But they don't know that I've had cancer in my head. And, you see? The more you explain, it will never be fully understood. The situation is serious in human life. It's not easy. And then nowadays with these Orkuts, blogs, when you blog, things aren't easy. And when you tweet and so on.
Yeah, my professor of law was always right. He was Dr. Nacelio. I don't know if I should talk about this online. What do you think? Any position you are, there is a certain moment of your life that you have your butt showing. This was his opinion in terms of law. And he used to use other expressions, okay? But there's no way out. But he was a wise man. He was the director of the college. We have some pictures, everybody laughing, because he was very happy. He was a glad person. From my past, I agree with you when you say that the more assistance we do, the more we amplify it. I have been receiving a lot of assistance as I have amplified my assistance. Do you agree that in terms of investment, to assist other people is more advantage than being complaining? Of course. Do I need to say more? That's it, indeed, yes, and so on. I would like you to explain more about these two items in pathology. The pinnacle of evolutionary cosmoetical self-didacticism. It's when the person starts researching everything. 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 It's called everythingology. That's why what I call the self-didacticism. Those who live with me, do you think I'm that way? The other thing, the evolutionary scale, personal turning point. Yeah, when you become, when you go to another level, you need to change. There's a turning point, and your manifestation will not be the same. You'll be kind of unique regarding parapsychism. This is also related to intrusionfreeness. Although I have this friend who works for the law organizations, and she is very grateful for her work, but she has been feeling demotivated due to these conditions of work. How can she protect her health without leaving her job? It would be ideal for her to organize lots of friends to make assistance to the poor. When she needs to go to other people's lives, she would pay for others to do the process. I was talking about this friend of mine who was a judge. He was working, and there was this couple, and they wanted to fight because of 400 reais only. It's a very small amount. In this case, you give them the money and you finish all the problem. But Waldo, he said, what about the law? And I told him, this is the para-law. And he started doing this, and it worked well. In this same case, for this social service woman, she must find this NGO to help these people. If there is lacking a television, a problem, they pay for the television. So they improve the situation. That's the way out. Professor, letter B for Brasilia. When you talked about the evolutionary turn point, when the person is really irritating and express itself in a very bad tone, how do you deal with it when you don't expect to receive this kind of tone in the expression of someone's talk? When the person is that way, like bad-tempered, and you are obliged to work with this person, there's no way out. If there is a chronic situation in barathosphere, maybe the person doesn't want to to change. When the patient, when the ill person doesn't want to improve, to recover, no medicine, no tenderness, no doctor can work. Everything goes down the drain. The well-being is controlled by the intention and the will. That's why the ideal for us is to clarify, to inform, and maybe the person will change. Yeah, because this is like a disorganization somehow, isn't it? No, this is self-intrusion without criticism. Find a way for the person to have some self-criticism, so he or she will be better. Waldo, letter B. On the last line of the first page, you say that there is the intrusion without naiveness. In our reality, as we have some theoretical knowledge, how do you see our average naiveness regarding the intrusion? Well, there are people that sometimes they fear some things. You see, and without reason, like unfounded fear, and it stops, it clogs the intrusionness, the pusillanimity, and what I call cowardice. For example, when the intermissivist comes here and starts working with a lot of motivation, and the intruders come and start making this pressure, they just give up, and all of a sudden, all that work that was going right just goes away, fades away. And the person, it's like the person wanted something very easy, with no effort, very easy. And this is naiveness. We have to remember, where there is intrusion, there can't be naiveness. The person needs to find a way out. If a person is a rookie is very naive, this is a problem. For example, when there is poltergeist phenomena, you can't carry a rookie with you, a freshman with you, because the intruders will worse things, and you will have a bigger problem with that person, with the team you brought. I have always coordinated these things, and it's not sympathetic, because everybody wants to see the phenomena, you know. Everybody wants to go there to participate, and most of them don't have capacity to deal with it. The person could even understand the phenomena, but it's not possible, because the person will be subjected by the intruders, and the scenario will go down the drain. The ceiling will fall on our heads. So it's all related to the intrusion without naiveness. But in my opinion, the intrusion demands glasnost, transparency, crystal clear sincerity, authenticity, the destructive cosmoethics, impact therapy. There's no way out. So we need to add many things to surgery, like the ER. You can't leave it for the 5 minutes. It's very important.
Página 34.
Waldo, page 34. Parapsicology. On fifth line, bottom up, the neutralization of the intruders with the interassistentiality. Yeah. Regarding intruders, if you start doing interassistentiality with sincerity, you are already making the intrusion. So the intruders go away. They leave that context because of your well-intention, your good assistance, the helpers. You change the holocene of the environment, and the intruders leave the environment. So they are neutralized with your interassistance, with sincerity. The energy becomes better, the helpers arrive, and the holocene improves. And regarding intrusionfreeness, this is the basis of every process. In the same page, synergismology, the last item, pro-parapsychism, macrosoma, paramicrochip. The case is the following. Synergism, pro-parapsychism. Let's understand, okay? Pro-parapsychism plus macrosoma plus paramicrochip. So the person is conscious about its meanings, where it leads to. The person is accessing the central extraphysical plans. And that's exactly what I tell you. When I move my energies, the energies of the helpers and the central energy, I am conscious about this. And this for me is very clear for years. This is the ideal condition. You need to start so you can improve. Otherwise, all the phenomena will go back. But Waldo, in pro-parapsychism, macrosoma and paramicrochip are melted. See, the synergism in favor of parapsychism. What's the synergy? To join macrosoma and paramicrochip. It's like a marriage. And the last thing, Waldo, interactionology. The interaction and disturbance and self-confidence of perception. The problem is the following. If the person is confident within itself, it can have confidence regarding the phenomena that happens with he or her. Because the tendency is to happen healthy phenomena. The content will be of clarification, of cheering up the person. You understand? So everything changes. It's exactly what I'm saying here. Perceptive self-confidence. You have more confidence on what happens. Your signals increase. Think about this. Signals with self-confidence. It's exactly this. Professor, on page 34, first line, refractary passes by and doesn't enter. That's what makes a tangence. It touches, but it doesn't enter. You are refractory. If I put energy and there's another one that doesn't let me enter, there is a shield, like encapsulation. But in case of intrusion-freeness, the person, the intrusion-free being, it's permanent. But at the same time, you say that the person feels. So the energy enters the person. No, it's not like that. There will come a time when the person lets it enter. But something very different is for you to have an intruder that you allow it to enter your psychosphere. And it's different from that intruder that breaks into your psychosphere. These intruders that come because you allow them to enter are in larger number because you are able to deal with it. You will embrace them, you will assist them. But refractory is good to study. Question. I'm going through this period of energetic problems due to this job that will demand a lot of recycling from myself. Okay, you need to see a lot of detectives and Law and Order series, so you understand your job. I am making these changes, and I feel I need to start Penta, so I can keep my energetic balance and start my new function in this job. I ask if the beginning of Penta now will be good for everybody or will bring further problems. see, Penta now will bring further problems because it needs to be done isolated. Penta manipulates your life. So for the first 6 months, you'll be disturbed if you start now. Forget it. First, you control your situation on your job, and when everything settles down, you start Penta. The intention here of her is to have Penta, to take advantage from Penta. And this intention is very bad for the person. She's just a rookie. Waldo, I remember that lady that wanted to practice Penta to find a boyfriend. And I asked her, are you sure that Penta is the right thing to do? So they told me if my energies become better, I will find a boyfriend. So I'll start Penta right away. The same case, the person wants to use Penta as a defense gun, and it's not that way. You need to think about other people, the others. So Tertulians, you shouldn't start doing Penta with any other things that are still being prepared or installed or any transition. You need to start when everything's settled down, okay? I am watching the Tertulia online, and I disagree when you say that the universal donator is the O positive. It's the O negative. So explain this for us, please. The positive I'm talking about is that one that is very good, actually. There are two systems, the RH and ABO. The universal donator is the type O, and the real donator, universal donator, is the O negative. But as I have seen, O positive can also donate for many people. But anyhow, O positive, what I mean here is the ideal. Another thing, what is your type? What's yours? Waldo, here, the positive here, you are trying to say that the positive is something constructive, right? Yeah, that helps, that amplifies, that is universal, donator, come on, donator. It must be O. It's O, not zero, okay? Don't bring me problems. It's letter O, not number zero. Zero is something different and creates other problems. What? No, and you can't say that Portuguese create problems. Last year, you have caught with precision the difficulties I was going through with my ex-wife that had this pathological behavior. One of the problems was narcissism. Today, I am separated and free of aggressions, but with the feeling I have failed in this rescue. Can this feeling be real? Do we unite also to rescue other people? Listen, every evolutionary duo aims both people evolution. Well, it was like a fight, but I had to carry a whole group with me, and it was beyond my knowledge. Is this all part of our learning? Can I see? Can I consider my work done? No. Separation doesn't mean forever separation. Nobody loses anyone. Breaking up is not forever. So bless this person. See what you can do. Help the way you can. It's worth it. How can we get rid of religious brainwashing that stops me from doing better activities. Do the vibrational state. When you start doing the vibrational state, you will handle with your intruders. This entry as the Conscienciology principles defaces all the ASPR researches. Could you comment on that? Megaphenomenology could be included in this list. I have some difficulties to express myself, but I am making some efforts. How can I solve in a productive way and with good humor this process with ICCC? Well, it's good for you to have more contact with ICCC people, so you can have more ideas. But the process is the following. The American Society Research books from London and the researchers were very shallow regarding parapsychology. That's why I didn't study anymore. It came to a time when there was nothing more to increase my knowledge, especially with paraphenomenology. I talked about this today. And nowadays we are working and putting this data in encyclopedia, and I aim my next life, because we know that all this is just seeding, a very small seeding. There's a lot to be done with humankind re-education through all the problems of Earth reurbanization. So this is just the beginning of the beginning. We are on our first steps. Professor, I would like you to explain to me the political models. Since Aristotle, what is valid, what is worth applying for our nation, our country? What would you change in terms of administration? I am for pure democracy. The more people manifest to define and to decide things and to determine the facts, the better. Democracy is this. The larger number of people to determine, to have a decision in favor of everybody, the better. So that's how we need to move. In this district here, very small district, we can reach this condition. Let's see with this Council of 500 how we can handle. This is the best way. The rest is the rest. Aristotle and Socrates, all these people, they are very old. Let's see if they show up to help us with more advanced ideas. We are waiting for it. Guys from Arlindo and Zaslavsky also. Let's see what happens. Zaslavsky is from Unicin, right? He was around here. Oh, his brother was here, right? Yeah, there's one there.
Waldo, na página 34.
Waldo, page 34. Parapsychology.
Na terceira linha,
third line,
de baixo para cima,
bottom up,
rotina
interassistential routine regarding multidimensionality. Multidimensional interassistential routine. This is Penta, this is extraphysical clinic. Okay. And effectology, the effects of the acquiring of the self-evolution, intrusion-free state. Well, the more intrusion-free you are, the more you evolve. There is a tendency to potentialize your evolution. As a consequence, yes, it's an effect. And one last thing, 35, culturology, the culture of interassistential parapsychism. Yeah, that's what we are trying to do here, to elaborate or to make a predominance of the interassistential culture through parapsychism in favor of everybody. That's multiculturology of intrusion-freeness. That's what I'm talking about. To gather all the culture of the person and head to intrusion-freeness. Imagine when we have this meeting of people, everybody intrusion-free, the possibilities that will come. Imagine the power of the Holocene. By just imagining, we can see that this has never happened on Earth. Because we can't hide intrusion-free. Serenology is different. There is this hide resources. But if you join, if you gather a lot of intrusion-free beings, you can't hide. It shows. It's glasnost, crystal clear. No way out. Okay, thank you.
Professor Waldo, na página 36, aqui.
Professor Waldo, on page 36, number 18, a holosomatic phenomenology. I would like to know if here we would have the condition in which the intrusion-free can drink lots of alcohol and eliminate all of it afterwards. Well, yes, it could be that, but what we're talking about is more like a somatic phenomenology, but it's all possible because of energy. So it's energy working physiology, the toxicology, and the immunology. So there is a series of interrelations, everything coordinated by the person's will. Those who are used to working with the vibrational state, the energies, can overcome the situation. So here, what would be the example of the holosomatic process here? Well, the awakening, this coincidence. But it's already here in the 10th one, awakening this coincidence. Well, okay, but we're talking about the general condition. I'm giving you the particular condition. Find your way out, sort it out. But okay, Professor, I would like to know if a veteran Theta practitioner would sleep less if he would diminish his sleep hours. Well, it happens with those who age. It's normal. As we age, it seems to be in accordance with the physiology process. But the thing here is that it couldn't affect what the person does. For example, if today I step out of my mental somatic turn, it will kind of create problems for me in the next 2 or even 3 days. This is 100% sure. So if I plan things and do everything right, everything is okay. But I have to replace what I have lost in small blocks. If I replace the small block as soon as I can, it's better for me. And what I see is that I place my body as a machine. I have this thinking machine, which is my head, this operational machine, which is my body, and the factory, the assembly line, which is working. That's why I look into details. And if I step out of it, it's up to me to have the problems. So I'm a person that's hardly ever unattentive. If we are in an atypical day, okay, I could commit little mistakes, and it's normal. It's just like Monk, that character. I look everything just because of the atypicity. If I change a little thing, if I change its places, and I will have problems. That's why we have to be very critical about our human life. Okay, Professor, if you have certain works, if you are working on something, you could just go on and invade your sleep hours. Okay, then what I will do is to place that sleeping hours a little bit ahead and replace it. So, for example, one of these days I slept late, and yesterday at 7:30 I was in bed, and but at midnight I was very excited to work, so I worked all night long. But the better is I worked so much that I had to take a shower that was also out of my shift. So the atypical days are still going on because it happened 4 days ago. But I had already had an idea of that because Tertúlia mentor told me about it. He gave me a tip on it. And with telepathy, I had the idea. And he said, well, see, your next month will be entirely atypical. Do you remember that? But the month he was talking about was April, and he told me it will be entirely atypical, and I was able to see it. And everything started to be different. But with this atypicity, I have to look into everything with details, and then I make notes of everything. I don't trust myself anymore. I don't want to trust my memory. I don't want to trust my mental somatic shift. I write everything down as not to forget anything. And also the interferences, because there is an enriching in this process. Because I'm a machine. My life, I lead my life as if I were a machine. So what I am doing with the machine is just like that. What have I registered in the machine so that it could work as well? It's not only suspectometer, it's much more than that. But I feel alright like that. It's not bad. Look, without this, I have written an entry. And when I finished it today, because I had slept earlier and I recovered on the process, I had 3 ideas of entries, and they came all simultaneously, one better than the other. And I started one in the computer, it's there, stopped, because I just started this at home, and then I had another one, and they were just unbelievable, and I can't throw them away because they're very good. Yeah, this is one of the 3. This one you're talking about. But this was the second that showed up. There is a third one which is terrible, and I just wrote it down, just the main topics, and then I will see how I will elaborate on it. I can tell you about that. The case is the following. In the volunteers' life in the conscientiocentric institutions within volunteering, the volunteer has a percentage of management, cosmoethical administration, and at the same time he has to bear the pressure. He has to withhold the rigor he puts in his administration. And you have to balance it. What's the percentage of concession you give to those newcomers? And what we see is that at the beginning, 80% is concession and 20% is strictness. But with the course of time, the person controls everything, takes it over, and the person turns it around. So it's 80% of rigorosity and 20% of concession. And then that's what makes everything blow up. That's the problem, because this percentage, how you balance that, it's very serious. And I ask you, what would be the desirable condition? That's the difficulty of the person. Because if you tell me, okay, the ideal would be 50-50, but that's not the case. It depends on the way, on the mode, but higher rigor is in the head, because I think that if you go above 3/4, it will create more problems than help you. That was this kind of rigor that created problems for those who were managing the units and never let new teachers to come in, because the level of demand was just too great, too much, and we can't be as rigorous as that. But it's a subject to be debated. I will just give you some hints to see if it goes and we clarify the subject. It's very difficult. Let's see what happens. Let's see the records of today. 128 signatures in the presence book, 22 presential on-site questions, 12 online questions, 64 presential votes, 7 online votes, more than 1,000 attempts of access, online access, 180 teletertulians watched the Tertúlia. Now we're going to have messages from Viviane, the Week of Health from OIC, Thiago André from Associação Erika, Quality of Life and Organic Food, ECP2, Sandra Rodrigues, Flávio Amaral, Open Class, Special Open Class, Tamara André, CEAEC Labs, and Sandra Tornieri, third parapsíquism meeting, and the first forum of research. But first, the Friends of Encyclopedia with Eduardo. Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to bring a data from 2009 when we had 30,000 people being attended to here in the Tertúlias, and if we calculate 9 extra-physical consciousnesses in each attendance, we would have 270,000 consciousnesses being catered for in 2009. And the calculation is each friend of encyclopedia would allow the assistance of 900 consciousnesses. So it's a piece of data that we have already divulged, but it's important to bring it here again. So the friend of the encyclopedia helps at least 900 other consciousnesses. So nowadays we have friends of encyclopedia in Africa, Europe, Spain, the United Kingdom. We have in Brazil, Argentina, the United States. And we would like to reinforce here that in April we will have very little inscriptions expiring, and it gives us lots of motivation to increase our members, because nowadays we have 336 members, and we would like to increase that number. So those who are about to expire May, June, we are incentivizing to renew it in April so that we could anticipate this process. We would like to remind you that the inscription is 720 reals divided into 12 fees, 60 per month. We could divide it in Visa and Amex cards.
I have this invitation in name of OIC and AIC to come to the holosomatic week that will take place in the campus from 15 to 27 in October. I highlight the debates that will happen on October 22nd, because the professor Ami Bello will talk about the recycling of autocrat mega weak trait. There will be also Cristóvão Pérez and Crisela talking about the experience with an autist consciousness. We have also Professor Annie Catherine that will talk about about the overcoming of the resistance to feel. You will find further information in www.oic.org.br and in Foz do Iguaçu by the phone 30561404.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to invite you for the free online lecture at 3 p.m. from Invexis. The topic will be the critical sense in Invexis by Professor Alexandre Zaslavsky. You just have to go to www.invexis.org.
Good afternoon, everybody. Here is to reinforce the invitation for tomorrow, Monday, a lecture at 4 p.m. and another one 8 p.m. It's an offer from Itaipu Nacional, so we could center the visit of this neurologist, pediatrician in Foz do Iguaçu. It's an opportunity of conscientious-centric poll here to open our doors to the whole community and to mobilize groups of interest, volunteers to this debate that is fundamental, is important regarding intoxication, be it through food or any other environment residue. And all related to our body development. The invitation is for everyone. Please advertise through your emails, and we have sent this message to many people. The title of the lecture is Quality of Life and Organic Food. So we count on you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I would like to invite you to the ECP2 that will take place in Rio de Janeiro in April 23, 24, and 25. It's the first ECP2 in Brazil this year, and it will take place in a hotel downtown Rio de Janeiro, differently from what have happened so far. For further information, you could call 21, it's the code 3153 7575 or 7574. Thank you very much.
Pessoal, então só para lembrar que nós estamos vendendo uma ação entre amigos.
I would like to remind you that we are selling this raffle to buy another air conditioner to the Proexis lab. You might receive the set of embroidery sheets. So we are selling the roofs in the labs, and by the end of the Tertúlia, I also wait for you here in the living room. I would also like to inform that the physical immobilization lab is closed for refurbishment, and in about 15 days it will be still closed.
O CEAEC convida para a terceira jornada de parapsicologia e primeiro fórum de pesquisas das dinâmicas parapsíquicas. Esse evento ocorrerá no dia 16 e 18 de julho de 2010, logo após o curso Megaphenomenology de Especificidade ministrado pelo professor Waldo. Inclusive, as pessoas que tiverem interesse em fazer os dois cursos, os dois eventos, elas terão um pacote especial. Nós vamos dar destaque aqui algumas palestras que vão ocorrer, algumas atividades. O mapeamento deste evento é a cientificidade parapsíquica. Então nós vamos ter 6 conferências, 2 mesas de debate com 7 apresentações e um painel com 4 apresentações. Então algumas conferências que vão acontecer. Com a professora Daiane Rocha, estudo de ampliação da clarividência facial a partir da potencialização de campo ectoplástico. Essa pesquisa foi feita a partir da dinâmica parapsíquica da terça-feira,
she participates in the Tuesdays dynamics, so there will be other researchers also bringing their experiences. We're going to have also the conference by Professor Ulysses Schlosser on paraphenomenological methodology. It's also directed to
do parapsiquismo.
The researchers on parapsíquismo. So all of you are invited. For further information, contact CEAEC.
Boa tarde.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Representation, I would like to invite you for the debate. In 30 minutes, we have an open class by Professor Jeffrey. He will talk about consciential disrepression. And right after, we'll have these experiences. He will comment regarding international classes. It's good for all of you that are becoming teachers. It will be here in the AD room at 3 p.m.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to remind you of the program that will be in Global News, channel number 40 at 11 p.m. So there will be Waldo's interview on Chico Xavier's life. So for tomorrow, we're going to have the entry experienced self-conviction elected with 22 votes. The subfield is self-cognitiology. Thank you very much and good afternoon, you all.